Now, Vedika Andhee, Director for Tax at Ernst Young. Great to have you with us, Vedika.
Thank you.
Would you agree the most significant change is this jump in the threshold? So if you earn below 250,000, you don't have to worry about tax?
That is correct. I mean, the most important step that SARS has made this year is focusing on the taxpayers that contribute most to the tax base. It is an interesting strategic move because by focusing on them, they have more chance to ensure that there is enforcement, that there is correct reporting on the tax return, and SARS gets its due.
And it eases the admin for your lower earners.
Yes.
What about SARS saying every year it's had a positive year, but it's looking at new sources of revenue. There was talk of iTunes and anything you download from the internet. Now some economists say that SARS is actually showing some desperation there.
Well, I think the issue is SARS needs to collect enough money in order to play its part in growing the economy. The South African...
Which is hard right now.
Right. It is definitely hard looking at the way things are going, but the fact is that there is only a limited amount of things that SARS can still cut back on or chase taxpayers on in the sense of allowable deductions, etc. So the next part is to look at enforcement and to look at those individuals who should in fact be paying tax that aren't. So I would say that it definitely is a more tough time for SARS, but it allows them to look at people who have not been paying their fair share.
Well, let's look at the penalties that, as you say, are getting tougher and tougher. So if you don't comply, what happens?
Okay, the interesting thing is that the Government Gazette has placed a lot of emphasis on the fact that if you lie on your tax return, for instance, you are liable to a fine or imprisonment of up to 5 years, believe it or not. And besides that, you've obviously got your penalties, as you mentioned. Now, if you don't file your tax return, you've got also fine or imprisonment of up to 2 years, as well as
just
a monthly penalty. Correct. I mean, it's in the legislation. I've yet to see it being enforced, but it is there, and one should be scared because enforcement is a key thing on SARS's mind these days.
Finally, tax practitioners, I think there is a change in that they must be registered. So if you ask for help, make sure that you look at their qualifications, presumably.
That's correct. So as of July 1 this year, if someone helps you to file your tax return or complete your tax return, that person needs to be registered as a tax practitioner if he or she is charging you a fee. Now, to be registered as a tax practitioner, you also need to be registered with a body such as the South African Institute of Tax Practitioners, or SAICA, South African Institute of Chartered Accountants. And the reason for this is that finally SARS is saying that not everyone should be assisting people to file their returns. There's a lot of funny happening out there, you know, people declaring income incorrectly, people taking advantage of the tax system. So what SARS is saying is there needs to be some sort of recourse. And the recourse exists by virtue of the fact that you now have a controlling body that is looking after those individuals who are charging money to do work.
All right, so get the right help and file so you don't go to jail.
Exactly.
Thank you for your analysis. Director for Tax at Ernst Young, Vedika Andhee.
News that moves. eNCA.com.